I'm glad that we're doing this one because for us nonners, we don't know really what's going on the Flightline. And I think you're going to give us some insight into what is really going on in the world of the Air Force, because you guys are actually touching the operational mission. So let's find out who we've got here with us today. You know me, of course. I'm the host of this show, Sergeant Miller. But let's start off at the far end here. Who are you, and what unit are you from?
Senior Airman Finch with 69th BGS.
And then you, sir?
I am Senior Master Sergeant Tempest, and I'm part of the 69th Bomber Generation Squadron, for those who don't speak acronyms around here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Campbell, and I'm also with the 69th Bomber Generation Squadron.
Right on. So it's good to have everybody from the same unit. Sometimes I think that some of the stories that you're going to tell, you'll be able to fill in each like bits of information that the other person didn't get. Now, the idea of Tales from the Flightline is that we're getting to hear a little bit about what it's really like. And hey, we're not gonna tell any stories that get anybody in trouble. But if you do have some stories of somebody who's no longer in the Air Force and can no longer be harmed by the fallout of the situation, you know, maybe share that story. So, first off, let's talk about what your jobs are. So, what do you do for the Air Force?
So I'm a crew chief. So it's all airframe, general kind of maintenance stuff, as opposed to specialists who kind of dive really deep into one section of it. It's a little bit of everything, servicing and tires and stuff like that, as opposed to just being really deep in one system. We do a little bit of everything.
And what about you, sir?
So coming up, I was an engine troop. So I worked primarily just on the aircraft engines itself.
Yeah.
So anytime that crew chiefs would either see something in an inspection after a flight, they'd call me out. I'd take a look at it. But a lot of the time for myself, like I said, I'm mainly focusing on that engine work, but at the discretion of the crew chiefs telling me what I do. But currently right now I'm a sortie support flight chief. So I'm in charge of all of the mannings, appointments, and all that stuff, making sure that the team is actually manned to go out there 24/7. Right. We're out there all the time. So I got to make sure that we have enough people spread across all those shifts to make sure that we can get the job done.
And you've always been on the B-52, right?
I have not, actually.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So long time C-130 guy. So I've done various jobs throughout the C-130 world. And then when I made Senior Master Sergeant, it actually opened up my, I guess, opportunities to switch airframes.
Yeah.
And so Minot said only the best come north, and here I am.
Right on. Okay, good to have you.
Yes, sir.
And then I'm obviously a crew chief as well. I guess more me as an NCO. I mean, I'm doing a lot of, special sorts of inspections and stuff like that, like certifications and stuff like that, senior airmen below won't have. Stuff like engine inspections and, certain in-progress inspections on, like, say, a drag chute, like stuff you can't exactly look at after a certain step has been completed. So I got to be there to verify that, the work's getting done properly, efficiently, just kind of, more supervisory stuff. I don't get to, turn wrenches as much as I would like to. But, I mean, there's still opportunities out there that I definitely take because I miss the airman days of being a crew chief. Senior airmen run the flight line for sure. Like even me as an NCO, like I'm nowhere near as important as like a senior airman or A1Cs are. Like they're the showrunners out there. So, but still get opportunities, like I said. So take it when it's there.
Right on. Yeah, the senior airman being the backbone of everything that we do here is very true. So let's talk a little bit about when you first enter maintenance. What was it like for you whenever you first stepped out onto the flight line, and how quickly did things go off the rails?
I was gonna say, like, when I first got here, I had prior experience with aircraft. I've kind of grown up around the world of aviation and stuff like that, so it wasn't like a brand new thing. But I think the scale and what that maintenance is going to was a bit intimidating, knowing, like, I mean, you're getting as close to perfection as you can because I mean, it's people's lives that matter.
Yeah.
So it does have like a certain weight to it that you're not used to, like say in the civilian world. I mean, because it's not just taking off, flying somewhere and landing. There's a whole lot more maneuvering and actions that are being taken with this plane. So you got to make sure that structure is great. You know what I mean? Make sure engines are performing perfectly. So I mean, it does kind of have like this, like I said, intimidation factor to it, but it also gets you excited because you do have something that you're reaching for. Something that matters to a lot more people than just who you're working with. So I mean, I was excited. And it was a lot of fun starting off too because I just had everything to learn still. So it was like, fun to think about.
I think I had the complete opposite experience. I had zero maintenance prior to joining and whatnot. I didn't even know any of the tools. So first day in tech school, they literally just, this is a wrench, this is a screwdriver, and I'm taking notes like, okay, wrench, screwdriver, okay, yeah. So it was really a tough go for me because I didn't have that maintenance background as a lot of our people coming in do, and the tech school itself actually does a pretty good job of taking somebody from the streets, zero prior maintenance knowledge, and then taking them to that next level. And then when they get here, it's up to these guys really to train that next generation to be into the seats that they're at there.
Yeah.
So
What about you? What was it like when you still had energy?
I actually didn't start on the line. I started in phase. So it was a little
Nice.
slower pace, but it was still a lot because it was a lot of in-depth stuff, a lot of things you can miss if you're not looking right. So we're doing the in-depth inspection side.
That's what
where we
phase
get a
is.
plane. Yeah, we get a plane on the ground for a certain amount of time. It's going to be in a hangar. You're doing a pretty in-depth inspection, doing work cards that only happen once every 450 flying hours. So it's a lot of find the little things that Flightline tends to miss and the things that need those recurring inspections. So we had a lot of time to move at a slower pace. So it was really nice to get to learn a jet that doesn't have to fly Monday.
Yeah.
I can really take my time, learn these systems, learn the things that tend to get missed. And then at the end, you send it back all, good to go. And then I went to the Flightline and it was kind of a shock, a lot more fast paced. This thing has to fly tomorrow. So whatever you do, you don't have a month to get it done.
Right.
You got to get it done really quick. So I got to learn all of the tasks and then I got to learn how to do them at a faster pace. So that was really.
Well, we have two crew chiefs and an engine guy. So who on the flight line is the proverbial like wrench in your plans? Who is who's the person that we all hate?
I wouldn't say hate.
Avionics.
Avionics.
It's funny because we just did have avionics over here.
Absolutely. Each aircraft, coming from different airframe experience and whatnot, each aircraft has its challenges and whatnot. The B-52 here at Minot for sure is an avionics nightmare. I would say everything. It's an old plane with new systems, and a lot of those new systems and old systems do not like to talk to each other. So there's a lot of old wires running through there. I mean, this plane's been around since 1960. So I mean, it's been flying for a while. So there's a lot of old things that need some love.
Need some love.
Sure.
Human interaction to make it happen.
Absolutely.
The best way I've described it was like if I taught my grandfather how to break dance, like it's going to be painful, but he's going to figure it out.
Absolutely.
That's kind of this plane with avionics. It's just kind of it's a learning curve for everybody, and it's just like I said, it's growing pains. But I mean, it's just going to take time, and none of us have time and patience, I think, for it because we got stuff we got to get done.
Yeah.
America calls, and the plane's got to be ready to go. So.
Well, we've definitely received, I think, a little bit more time and attention recently. So I do like that people are suddenly loving the bombers again, but at the same time, that means more work for all of you. So what's it like when work picks up and they're like, hey, we're gonna need some more aircraft up in the air?
So I would say the biggest thing that I guess people don't see is that when we get the call of, hey, we need the bombers to go, there's months leading up to that where we're out there and we're working for 12 hours, 7 days a week, just going, just to make sure that these planes are prepped, ready to go. Not just for the actual aircraft portion of it, because I mean, we're taking aircraft and literally putting people in it to fly in the sky, but then we got to put weapons on that thing too, because if we don't have the weapons on it, I mean, that's just a fancy airliner, right?
Right.
So the prep work leading up to it, I mean, we're doing that for months on end.
Training, making sure that everybody knows how to do it.
Training, loading,
Yeah.
like literally getting it ready to the point where when the call comes down and they say go, those planes can leave right then and there.
Yeah, I've seen crew chiefs who have watched their aircraft take off, and there's joy in that. You know, you get to see, you know, a silent tear run down their face of like, all right, it happened. And I've also seen the utter disappointment of like a red ball gets called, and they're like, oh God. So what's take me into the thought process of finding out that your aircraft is not going to take off.
I've actually been in that exact position before. This was, you know, obviously overseas somewhere, and I was me and one other guy were the only two people not celebrating because every single other one took off except for mine. And that was kind of the plan originally, just because, you know, my aircraft had really high flight hours, so it was kind of like a, you know, backup to the backup. But that was hurtful, you know, especially in a location where your jet flying like really matters to a lot of things for a lot of countries in the world. And I wanted, you know, my jet to be the one to do that, so that I knew that like my hard work was paying off. And yeah, it was defeating. It's actually kind of funny because almost every single time I run into Lieutenant Colonel Cangelosi, he's a 69th Bomb Squadron commander, he always reminds me of that day. I love it though. He's like, yes, I'm reminding you of something negative. He's like, but that just, you know, goes to show that I remember you for you caring about your jet, you know, which is, I mean, this doesn't become just a career for some of us, you know what I mean? It becomes our life, you know, like our jet is the background of our phone, you know what I mean? Like it's a very serious thing, you know. It's you know, even if you're in a really great relationship, you got kids even too, whatever else, still some people got their jet on their phone, you know, like they love it.
Yeah, you know, my kids are a close number 2, but but I like my jet.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is that normal for people like your aircraft doesn't take off and then everybody's like, wow, you're a loser?
There is a lot of smack talk. This jet's good, and this jet, you know, everybody has their favorite. Even if you're not on a jet, you know, everybody's got their, this tail is my favorite, and if it's not yours, then it's not a good jet. If it's not my jet, then
even from a leadership standpoint of I love seeing the rivalry between the planes and whatnot, because it's that ownership piece that the crew chiefs put the hard work and the dedication into their plane. So from myself, I know that the work is getting done and it's going to be quality because they care about it. Their name's on the side of that plane, right? They're not going to put their name on something that they're not proud of. Right. So it's just that extra piece of assurance, I guess you could say, that the job's getting done correctly.
Well, you have, and you know, competition can breed excellence, but what's the furthest you've seen people go that we can talk about here, where the competition probably went a little too far or too crazily?
There's a lot of tagging, a lot of people, you know, stickers and whatever upstairs.
There might have been some planes from another base that has B-52s that may or may not have some 69 stickers on it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I don't know where those came from though, but
well, we could probably narrow it down, but
I mean, that's our favorite thing to do, is make sure that anybody that shows up here knew where they went, you know. We're gonna leave our mark, you know, because hey, only the best come north, and they're just trying their best to become the best, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose the Barksdale of it all is that hey, we know that there's a different base, that they're also doing their old mission, but the rivalry between our two wings, and I you know, it's with love, of course, but what do we have when we have those folks come over? Is it a lot of like, hey, here's teaching you how you can be better so that you can eventually come here? Or is it a lot of like, you dummy, like come on?
Yeah, I would say, especially for the sake of like, you know, generations that we do and stuff like that, it's a lot of us teaching them, because I mean, we do them all the time here, and they don't have the capabilities to be able to do those down there. So they're always up here for, nuclear generations and conventional generations and all that stuff like that. And it is a lot of us coaching them through like good practices and things to remember and things to avoid and stuff like that.
Right.
Which, while you're trying to do that while also teaching that is, it can be a pain sometimes, but I mean, if we make them to, our standard and our level, then I mean, it's a whole nother base full of, Minot folks basically. So, I mean, we definitely are, it's not even a rivalry. We are better than Barksdale for sure. I like to. It's even that true. Like I do believe the best come north, but I definitely think they're bred in the north too. Like you just Minot people are built differently, And when Barksdale comes up here at a different speed and a different pace than we are, like they gotta start running. They're going from crawling to sprinting,
Well, it's a little bit warmer down there, so
it's everything is. The game is completely different when it's -30 and the wind's blowing and all that stuff.
We need to do it right. We need to do it quickly, and we need to do it the first time because I
Absolutely.
don't want to be out here longer.
Yep. I mean, there's days where for myself as like, even just when it comes to like package writing and whatnot to like get these guys recognized.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where I'm writing a package and I literally just want to write worked 12 hours in -30-degree temperature. Airmen didn't die. They
Nobody
survived.
died.
Like that is to me an incredible thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the walk to and from an office building is pretty cold, but when you do it for 12 straight hours and whatnot, now it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, where do you go when it's that cold outside to get warmed back up for like I know it's black flag conditions or whatever, and I know you're covered in layers and layers of stuff to keep you warm, but where do you go?
Usually just huddle up around the little heater cart. You'll have like, 6 guys and one goes off, keeps working the job for a little bit. You watch him waddle back. You go, all right, it's my turn. I gotta get away from the heat for a little bit and go get something done. Get too cold, come back. It's just, you can kind of huddle around the heater cart for a little bit.
You're making it sound like penguins.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, basically.
Very similar.
I don't think we can get away from that visual at all.
Yeah.
What you're describing is waddling.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I would be lying if I said I haven't tried to see people slide on their stomach out there on the ice anyways, so I think we could go with the penguin term, honestly. It's real.
Have you ever seen someone successfully pull it off?
No, I think that's the funniest part of it every single time. They see the vision and they think it's going to go so perfectly, and then it just doesn't.
That's all pavement under
I love yeah. They find the one patch that doesn't have ice on it. Everybody being okay afterwards, of course.
Yeah, we I guess are kind of getting into it. Minot is so cold. There for more than half the year, it's really pretty uncomfortably cold, and then for a portion of the year, it's so cold that it's hard to even think. So how do you do your jobs when it gets that uncomfortable?
That's what your friends are for. Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
because it becomes a mental thing because there's only so much you can do physically to like deal with the cold. It's the people around you, and honestly, everybody I work with is hilarious. Thank God, because otherwise I would lose my mind out there. And that's kind of what's good about being at Minot too. Is like, I mean, yes, you work with all these people. Yes, there's people in charge, but you guys create a family. So it's like you guys are looking out for each other out there, and the job just gets done. It's kind of just like you kind of blank out, you know what I mean? Next one thing you're inside, and then you end up outside working, and then you're back inside, and you never even remember what happened just because it's cold. Let's get this done. Let's laugh and joke while we're doing it because it is miserable, but it becomes a new challenge after a while. So it's kind of a good test for all of us to see like, oh, who our best maintainers are, like how good of a maintainer are they, see if you can deal with the cold as well as you can, the heat. So I love it out there. It's fun. The people are great. I love the people out there.
That's good. Well, how do you guys handle the cold whenever you're out there?
Just think about something warm. Honestly, it's kind of like when you're out there, the quicker you can get this done safely and effectively, obviously, but the quicker you can get this thing done, the quicker you can get back into the cold. So I think that goes back to what we were saying about how different bases move at a different pace. Like Barksdale guys tend to move at a different pace. We're very used to just get this done, get back into where it's warm, So learning how to do your job effectively is critical for your own comfort,
Yeah. What do you have to think as a leader that you're seeing these people who are right out there and are next to these aircraft, and these aircraft do have to fly? So
for myself, I mean, obviously it's about taking care of them. I make sure that we try and get out there, make sure that they are getting their rotations and whatnot, because that'd be the worst thing, under my watch of, hey, I got an airman who got frostbite or something like that, right? That means I'm not taking care of them, right? This airman and this airman's family is counting on me to make sure that they are getting taken care of. As far as like our leadership team, I mean, we will do the occasional hot chocolate run out there, make sure that these guys are getting taken care of. We will do, especially during the generations and whatnot, we will cook the burgers, we'll cook some dogs, we'll load them up in the truck, and we'll drive them out to the spots, make sure that they got a nice warm, have them hop into the van. We'll do hot chili and all that stuff. You gotta, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta eat when you can, especially being out there on the line. So trying to make sure that it's a step that they don't have to worry about and all that stuff. That's be the best way that we can take care of them is,
Now, I want to ask a question because the world of maintenance is different. If you're on the Flightline in general, it's a different world than what you're going to see in all your supporting agencies. But what are some of the cultural isms of getting food and making sure that people are fed, and what do breaks look like for you guys?
Oof, take them when you can. So
yeah,
it's really being we are opportunistic feeders.
Yes.
Very you obviously you have your meal card people. They have to get food, so you have to work with less people for a little bit while your meal card people go to the defact or whatever, and then when they get back, if you can swap out, or I know some people will take their food on the truck, eat it on the truck while we're rolling around, and eat when you can.
Yeah.
If you can.
There's times too. I don't know how many times I've had a oil hand sandwich. That you just put as much food that you can into like your backpack that you bring out there, or if we have a group of people and we're working on a big job, you just point to one airman and say, "Take everyone's order, run to the Burger King, go get us all some food." Everyone else just digital pay him, and we'll eat when we can.
Yeah, is that how it is for you too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's even like, especially like part of my job being out there too, is making sure that, through all of the chaos and, stuff like that, that people are getting the opportunity to go and get that and kind of help like direct and organize that kind of stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people too, just so that way they don't have to leave, the flight line and, have to go change in the uniform and then leave and stuff like that. They'll just, like, I know I used to keep like granola bars and, non-perishable stuff like that just in my bag, so I could just snack on that because it's better than nothing. I may not get a full sit down hot meal, but I mean, when you have so many things to do and you like doing it, I mean, you're not really thinking about food some of the time too.
That's right. Now, I hear a lot of taking care of people. What happens when people, like, what does it look like when people aren't being taken care of? Like, how does that affect morale and the actual job getting done and ultimately the mission?
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you want jets to fly, you got to take care of the people that are making them fly, and, it doesn't take away from the people that are flying them, but I mean, they can't do their job without us. So, I mean, taking care of each other and looking out for one another is by far the thing that keeps maintenance going. I mean, you don't really like we're low on parts all the time. Sometimes tools break, stuff like that too. But like if one of us breaks, I mean, that's that's over with. That's when we draw the line. I mean, we can deal with assets and parts and stuff like that. Like not being around and stuff like that. But we ain't got one another. Then that's no more maintenance anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think like the idea of taking care of each other is so important to us too, just because even me, like when I was growing up as an airman, like I didn't see enough people taking care of each other. So like I knew, once I stepped into this position, I knew what I wanted to do, and that was make sure everybody is taken care of. And there's another staff that used to be here, Staff Sergeant Babbage. He was one of those people that like he would always say every single day, he's like, it's all about the kids. You know what I mean? So it's like those airmen and stuff like that and looking out for them and making sure they're getting the right foot forward, making sure they're getting their food when they deserve it. It's always been about the people and always will. So,
yeah,
I think the thing too, like with every job, right? Taking care of the airmen should be the most important thing. I think with our job specifically is that if we don't put out a good product, people's lives are at stake, right?
Yeah.
The pilots that are flying the aircraft count on us to make sure that we are giving them a good product. And then whatever that plane's going to do, right? The people on the other end deserve a good product, because if we don't have a plane that can fly, then obviously the air crew's lives are in danger, right? The mission that the aircrew have to do, right? Obviously we're doing something with this bomber aircraft that
Yeah.
somebody needs something taken out, right? So if we're not taking care of the people, we're not going to get that whole picture completed.
Yeah, there's a lot of ripple effects that occur. Like if it's
Absolutely.
not going to be this aircraft, it has to be some other aircraft.
Yeah.
And yeah, someone downrange could be in danger because we're not out there making sure that people remember that B-52s are in the air. Now, he mentioned peer-to-peer, like taking care of each other peer-to-peer. How do you do that as a senior airman, making sure that other people are being taken care of?
I think as a senior airman, you're in a very special position, right? Like you have the opportunity to be, peer to peer, because our staffs and, tech sergeants, just being in a different rank means a different experience.
Yeah.
So I can really relate to what other airmen are going through, because I'm going through it at the same time. Whereas our staffs have different responsibilities, everybody's at kind of a different level. I think, especially for our newer guys, it's a lot easier to go to their senior airmen, because you are still an airman. You can still relate with them, and you went through all of the being a new guy and stuff like that not that long ago, relatively. Whereas a lot of our NCOs, that was a long time ago. The Air Force has changed, the in processing has changed, training has changed, all of that. I just went through that not that long ago, so I can really relate to the newer airmen and help them through that process a lot better.
That's great. That's an excellent answer. You remind me of something though. Hey, culture used to be different in maintenance. How has it evolved? Like, I imagine that there were like the phrase like the beatings will continue until morale improves
100%.
is said as a joke. Obviously, we don't beat people here in the Air Force, but that idea of, hey, let's be mean to each other until the situation improves, how has that evolved over time? Because I imagine some folks used to have a different mentality of how business was supposed to be run.
Absolutely. I mean, times have changed. I mean, for myself, the Air Force is very different than what it used to be. There was a lot more hazing, a lot more name calling and whatnot. I think exactly what you're saying. The beatings will continue, because I think a lot of people thought they had in their mind of this is how to lead, but they didn't actually know how to lead the individual. So each person learns differently, right? But everyone just had this blanket approach of, I'm in charge of you, and therefore I'm going to berate you until you submit to what I'm telling you to do.
Right.
I mean, there were some hazing things that we had to do. I would say, if you got caught not reading a TO, you were definitely wearing a sign that says "I don't know how to read." We had a bunch of different things like that. That today's Air Force, there's no way. It's just not the way to run business now.
Right.
You gotta take care of the individual individually, right? Everybody reacts differently. I could yell at him all day, but I can have a nice conversation with him and still get the same results. For myself personally, that is the reason why I stayed in the Air Force, was to try and change the culture.
Yeah.
The upbringing that I had as an airman, I said I was going to do 4 years and I was going to get out. That was my plan on joining, as many people do. And I saw that the way that the maintenance culture was, and I said, this isn't right. Like, I'm going to fix this. And to this day, everything that I do is to make sure that nobody goes through what I had to go through. Just trying to make everybody's lives a little bit better, a little bit easier.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, that I'm going to fix it is like maybe not necessarily the maintainer mentality, but if you see something that's not right, you have to step in and do something. That's just Airman 101, right? Yeah. So having that mentality of this could be better, and I'm going to be the one make it better. Is like, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys see now in the Air Force as you're coming along, you're on the flight line, and how do you want reality to change? How do you want that to change for you guys?
I mean, I know when I first got here, I was getting towards the end of that kind of stuff. So I didn't see as much as, say Senior Tempest did when he was growing up in the Air Force, we'll say. Um, but even that, just experiences that I've seen my friends go through, from people not like reaching out and making sure that people know if they need something they can come to you. I think that's, I mean, that's one of the most important things, because I mean, one of the worst things you can do in a place like this is feel alone or by yourself. Like you have to figure all this stuff out on your own. And I've unfortunately lost friends because of that. So it's like it kind of hits harder than it might for other people, but like it just makes me know exactly what I want to do. I may not make the entire Air Force change, but I mean I'm gonna start with where I'm at, and then see where it goes from there. I mean, there's just certain things that stay stuck in your mind, and it kind of forms you into the person you become, and and you can pass that on to other people too. People will use you as an example, like this is an NCO that I can go to about anything. He'll get it done for me, which is, I think a very rewarding thing, honestly.
Yeah. Seaman Finch, when you are, I mean, you're the youngest of all of us, earliest in your career. When you're coming up, what are you identifying as things that you want to change once you become an NCO?
I think a big one, especially in maintenance, is training, how we train. I think we've come a long way in the culture of things. I think culture is a lot healthier. I think now it's a lot about training and making sure people are getting the attention they need when it comes to how do I do my job. There was a lot of training when I got here. It's on you, and it's entirely on you. And if you don't get your training done, that's on you. And it's kind of becoming a little more of a group effort. We all want to get these people proficient. It's a group effort for all of us to help you get this training done, because you can't do it by yourself. Right. Realistically, you don't know what's going on. You just got here's a new environment, and you got to learn all this stuff about the plane, and someone telling you this is on you. Whereas now it's a lot more of, if someone's not getting trained, that's on me now. I need to step up and be the trainer and take an active approach in other people's training, in the new guys' training, because you got in processing, you got a new place to be in. So not having to worry about, how am I going to get tire change signed off, is, well, let me help you with that, because I had to get it signed off for myself and do all of this for myself. So I think training is a big, something I focus on a lot personally.
It sounds like a pretty stressful job, and I know that it's a different world out there, but how do you guys de-stress? Like, how do you handle that, the stress of the job? Because it's a big deal making those airplanes fly.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that does take, it may not completely take the stress away, but the thing that makes it worth it is to know what you're doing it for. Like these 12-hour shifts, and assurance and deterrence and all that, all those other fancy words that we use, say stuff like that. But I mean, it's seeing what what product that your work creates, I think does help with a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, yes, like you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, yes, I'm going to be stressed, but it's going to be worth it. There isn't, a time where I'm out there thinking like, this is pointless. Like there's never a time where I'm doing a job and I'm like, we don't need to be doing this. You know what I mean? Like this can wait. Like some things can, but I mean, it's all scheduled. There's timelines you have to meet and stuff like that. I mean, but I mean, hanging out with friends, I mean, this is a great place for wildlife. If you're into hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff like that. I mean, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a small place, and it's kind of secluded. So I think, like I said, that's that family that you create too, is, you guys will go through the stress together, and then on the weekend, you'll play video games together, whatever it is that you're into and do, so you kind of, I don't want to say you don't have an option, but it's easy to have all of your work friends become your outside of work friends, just because, I mean, you guys know what you've been through together. So
yeah, absolutely. I would say the friendships that we build is unlike any other, because we work so many hours, right? We're in such a small confined area. We're driving on the truck, or we're out there on the plane. Weekdays, weekends, whatever, you name it, we're out there for a long time, 12-hour shifts at a time, for extended periods of time. And then when it comes to actually deploying, the whole unit goes. So it's the same people that I've been working with day in and day out that are with me downrange. So I get to know them even more. So yeah, you do build some really good friendships just because of the amount of time that you've been together. I got married, and every single one of my groomsmen or whatever, we're all people from different bases that I've worked at, because
Right on.
that's the biggest friendships that we've built, because I've spent so much time with them. I spend more time probably with these guys than I do with my own family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, your second Air Force family.
absolutely.
Keeps growing too. Now, as a senior airman, I imagine that there's a few different things that you do for stress relief. Can you tell us? I'm asking you this question specifically because what are some of the healthy ones that you see, and what are some of the negative ones that you see?
A lot of the negative ones are kind of just people want to seclude themselves. They get sick of being around people. They just want to sit in their dorm, be by themselves. If you're a senior airman, you're probably off base, but use my weekends and sit alone. I mean, that works for some people, but I think one of the healthier habits is spending time with people outside of work.
Yeah.
You have a good time with people at work, and have a good time with those people outside of work, right? Like, don't define those friendships by just, I turn wrenches with this guy,
Yeah.
go out on the weekends, go, like you said, hunting, fishing, whatever it is that you do, try and see if your coworkers want to go do that sort of stuff. I think that's the biggest unhealthy sort of stress relief, is I'm just going to sit by myself in my apartment or my dorm or whatever it is, and de-stress alone. I think other people help out a lot with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And what do you guys see that's sort of those negative behaviors that people use as like a coping mechanism for their life?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly, the seclusion one is probably the biggest one I've seen. Like, I mean, a lot of people will sit there and kind of wait for things to happen, but you got to go make it happen. I mean, it is kind of unfortunate. The only people that you have to become friends with are the people that you work with. But I mean, you know, get outside of work and don't talk about work. Ask them about where they came from. I mean, I had friends that I used to work with, and then like outside of work, we'd have bonfires at his house. I became like an honorary uncle to his son. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, and that has nothing to do with work. Like we go over there. He was a guitar player. He was a musician, so we'd sit there and he would just play the guitar, and we just kind of you know have a little fun together, and just kind of get away from the mindset of like you know yes, we work together, yes, we can talk about work, but not talking about work, and
Right.
kind of like creating that work life separation for yourself, instead of everything that you guys talk about being what you do for 8 hours a day, so just kind of getting your mind away from that, making things happen. You got to ask people to hang out, and a lot of people are nervous about doing that sort of thing when they first get here because they don't know anybody. You just got to reach out to the people at your same level, and they're probably thinking the same thing. They're you just got to be that one individual that's like, hey, we should go do something this weekend, and get out of the dorms, get off base, so you don't feel like you're trapped in between the fences. But yeah, it's honestly, seclusion is, I've seen multiple people do that. Like, what'd you do this weekend? Like, oh, just kind of sat in my dorm room, like, and then you never see that person smile. I'm like, hang around some people. I said I work with a lot of funny people. There's always a joke cracked, like we're always smiling and stuff like that, and so it's easy to find someone that's fun to be around on base for sure.
I think the other thing too is hobbies. Like, it's easy to get just consumed by, all I do is work on planes, go home and sit on my phone. Even if you don't want to hang out with people every weekend,
Yeah.
find something to do that's not work. Get some sort of hobby, some sort of project to work on. You got the hobby shop on base. You can go work on your car, or if that's not your thing, there's plenty of hobbies that you can find around here, so that your life isn't just consumed by planes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from a leadership standpoint and whatnot, we try and do a pretty good job of putting out all the base events. I mean, there's different entities that have their own individual events that are made just for these airmen. And then from us, we use our Unite funds. You know what I'm saying? We definitely take advantage of that program to the fullest, and we will do everything. The baseball games, the hockey games. Like, we are bringing the team together so that way we can relax outside of the normal day to day turning wrenches, and we can just be people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to remember is that yeah, I'm an airman, I'm a maintainer, I'm a whole person that you have to get out of the idea that you are just the role that you fulfill for an organization, because you will be miserable if you're just doing the same thing. We'll see if you make it without snapping before the end of your 4-year enlistment. So, yeah. Now one final thing that I'll bring up, because I've heard about it in the world of maintenance. I know that it's true no matter where you go. Sometimes somebody misplaces a tool on the flight line. What does that look like? And what happens to the guy who did it?
So from a leadership standpoint, it's terrifying. When we get the notification of there's a lost tool, immediately my mind starts racing of like, is it in an aircraft, and did that aircraft take off?
Yeah.
Right, because if it, depending on where it is in the aircraft, I mean, that could be catastrophic.
Yeah, migrates to an engine and then
Yeah, absolutely. So from that standpoint, worst case scenario automatically runs into my brain. But what does happen if you guys lose a tool?
Well, I have lost tools. Unfortunately, it hasn't been super catastrophic. Most of mine have been misplaced tools. Let's put it that way. They weren't lost; they were misplaced. But it's find it, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't find it, you got to do kind of a risk assessment. Is it going to be in an aircraft? Because we've had some where something just blows down the flight line. We know it's not in an aircraft. We know it's probably somewhere flying across 83 right now. So it's kind of just make your case for, hey, this isn't on an aircraft. And if it is, it's a much bigger. I haven't had to deal with if it is on an aircraft, for sure, but I've had a lot of misplaced tools where you got to get everybody to the jet and everybody asking you, where'd you have it last? You get that question probably 10 times. Well, where's the last time you saw it? Here or here or whatever. But it's a lot of writing paperwork for it. You got to write an MFR to tell these people, hey, here's where your tool went, or I don't know where your tool went.
Yeah.
It's a pain. It leads to a lot of 12-hour shifts, a lot of conversations about tool accountability you've heard 30 different times. So, yeah.
Yeah. Is that a recent conversation?
Absolutely, it has been.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, I think that's also just like, being in my position too. If I'm out there and an airman I'm with, leaves a tool somewhere, it's kind of on me for not, making sure he does his tool accountability. Like we use the phrase day in and day out, trust but verify.
Yeah.
Know that your people know what they're doing, but make sure that you're correct on knowing that they're doing their job correctly. Right. You know what I mean? You kind of gotta give yourself and everybody else the warm fuzzies about like, yeah, this guy knows where his stuff is. Guy or girl should knows where his stuff is, and sometimes you trust but you don't verify, and it comes around and gets you too. If you're guilty by association, if you're out there, there's something you could have done about it. So I mean, we have certain publications in place that tell us as soon as something's lost, and it could be on a jet, you gotta let people know. Don't try to always just fix the problem yourself. That's kind of part of the consequences you got to deal with.
Yeah, you gotta. I know it's like part of integrity, but you gotta communicate it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody who's worked on a car knows that 10mm socket is gone forever. So it's the same thing. But we do our best to actually have like precautions set aside before we go out to the job. We look in the toolbox, make sure all the tools are there. When we work on the jet, we're done for that job. We open it up, make sure everything's still in there. But every now and then one slips through.
Yeah. I did hear a story, this was months ago, about an airman misplaced a tool, and then they open the drawer. They're like, where could it and then they open the drawer. It's in the drawer. They close the drawer, and they're like, all right.
Yeah, at that point,
we've been here an extra 4 hours.
You just got to own it. You just got to own it. We've seen that with keys to the locks to actually lock the toolbox. Just be in somebody's pocket, and they'll be out there searching forever. And the next thing you just put your hands in your pocket for that extra warmth, and oops,
they're like,
here it is.
Hey guys, don't get mad.
Well, I think for the amount of times I've seen it too, like I'm to the point now where I'm like, is the key in your backpack? Is the key in your pocket? Like, everybody empty their pockets out right now.
Yeah.
And then we have already been there for 2-3 hours, and someone pulls the key out of their pocket. I'm like, you think there's maybe a reason why I'm asking these questions? They're like, oh, no, sir, I wouldn't put it in my pocket. And then it's in their pocket. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what? People forget, it's high pace. So I get it. But, that's a big reason why we ask some of those questions,
Sure.
It's not so much as like talking down to them and treating them like children, but it's just like, I've seen people forget that in that exact spot that you say it's not. So let's check it before we completely rule it out,
I know a thing or two because I've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's usually someone said check your pockets 2 hours ago, and then they asked 2 hours later, and it was in your pocket. 2
Yeah, of
hours
course
ago.
it was.
It's always been asked
Yeah.
5 times, and now you find it.
Well, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be here, and then also thank you if you've watched the few past recordings that we've done. My chair has been tilted back like I'm gonna take off in a rocket ship, and then I mention it to these guys, and they're like, "Well, let's take a look at the chair to see what's wrong with it." So that is, they performed a little bit of percussive maintenance, and it worked. So throughout the course of this episode, my back, which was uncomfortable, has now fully become comfortable. So thank you so much for, how the way you've changed my life personally has been.
For you, sir, it was worth it.
A chair is nothing, if we could fix the world, it would fit in a hanger, we could, so.
Well, thank you again, and we hope that all of you listening out there will catch us in the next one.